Hi, my name is Shelby and welcome to my channel. Today we are laying the foundation for the spring garden. We've got loads of work to do. It all starts here. I've gained the assistance from my husband today. He's gonna be the helpful hand helping me get all of this huge pile completely just spread out. When I say this is a huge pile, I mean seriously, look behind me. It is about 20 cubic yards of mulch. We are just simply flattening this and blending it in to another pile that has already been flattened. The overall goal is to turn those piles of mulch into a beautiful in-ground garden bed that we can plant many different things in and utilize a no-dig, no-till garden method. It's worked really well for us for an entire year, and I plan to continue this method. There's literally just a few basic things that are going to help you with a no-dig, no-till garden method. You'll need a lot of cardboard. With the areas that have the initial chip drop, if that's the route that you're going, we actually don't cardboard underneath those areas because the sheer weight of the 20 cubic yards sitting on that soil for at least a month or so really suffocates the weeds to a point where it's not a problem, at least for a year. Now, this method yields really healthy soil and a really beneficial ecosystem all around your entire garden. Anytime we get a new box from Amazon or anything like that, like especially after the holidays, we save the boxes. Also purchase just raw cardboard in like rolls on Amazon as well. If you're worried about any type of like glues or anything like that that comes on the actual boxes. Because this was all just rained on like a day ago, this mulch is super heavy right now. My husband is like doing a freaky fast job at spreading out this mulch pile. It's like already almost all the way spread out while I've been yapping to you guys. So I gotta focus more, get to work, and actually help him. Right now there's actually like a ridiculous amount of fire ants in these mulch hills. And they're like the really huge, oh God, what was on me? The big fire red ants right now. So we're trying to like move our feet as quick as possible. The ants really like the mulch. There's one downside, but it's really not a problem once it all kind of gets spread out. Just the name of the game, one pile of mulch at a time. He is loading the piles of mulch into the wheelbarrow while I am dumping them and spreading them. That's our system. At the size of mulch that fits in the wheelbarrow, we're really barely spreading it out. We're just kind of like evening it out because you want to keep those mulch piles as thick as possible. What I'll do before actually putting rows like of soil in the garden down the line is I'll put cardboard down first, then a really heavy layer of compost, and that worked super well last year. We did not have a problem with the weeds at all. He is continuing to spread out all of that mulch and everything. I'm gonna start working on these beds that are supposed to become flower beds for the spring. I'm gonna plant all of my poppies here that I just got in my seed haul. If you missed that, check that out. I'll link it in this video. But I plan to put all my poppy flowers here. Like, how amazing would that be just to walk out to the garden and be greeted by a bunch of absolutely breathtaking poppies. I'm gonna get started on preparing these beds because they have to be sown in the cold time of the year, otherwise you're going to miss your window. So if you haven't sown your poppy seeds yet and you especially live in a warmer climate, definitely get that started now. I moved these from the middle of my garden last summer with the hopes to have these as flower beds in the spring. In that meantime, I've just been like tossing like garden things in here like as if it's a storage shed. That's why I have to clean these out, and then I'm gonna put cardboard down to get these weeds kind of suffocated and whatnot. The reason why I moved them from the middle of the garden is because I just felt like it was more beneficial to instead put some shaded fruit trees there that would offer, you know, like happiness in the summertime because it's a little bit shaded, and also give it more of like a fully working permaculture vibe as opposed to just kind of like just vegetables. I want more like trees kind of incorporated through the garden, and banana trees are excellent for that. So that's why I moved those so I could do a bunch of banana trees in the middle of the garden. I'm gonna just pull some of them out a little bit. I'm not really worried about completely de-weeding, just because the cardboard and the mulch and all that will really do that job. Just kind of getting all the heavy stuff out. I really want to make sure we get this done, if anything, this weekend because of the timing. And honestly, at this point with the spring garden, everything is about timing. So I do feel like a little bit of pressure. Last year, you know, I was able to get everything done like at perfect timing, but I also had one less kid and I was pregnant, so I actually can't believe I did get everything done when I did it. So going into the month of March, my goal is to have all of the beds totally made and like all of the seeds that I've started in those beds. February, I'm really focused on making sure those seedlings have started to sprout and started to grow. We're getting all that compost in the beds, and then before like the second week of March, I like to have all of those plants in the beds. So you might ask, what happens after March when the beds have been made and everything has been sown? For the most part, it's kind of like a good time to take a step back and just relax for like literally a month before the weeds get crazy and out of control. But it's also a good time to plan, re-sow a new round of seeds if there's something that you want to plant again in the summertime. And also just kind of maintain the garden, put more, you know, mulch and things like that down through the actual garden bed. So that's kind of what we do once everything's all said and done. And then we brace ourselves for the month of June. So typically for us, our crops are ready to harvest in abundance anywhere from like late May, but typically June through July. This is because most crops take about 90 days from seed to harvest. And of course there's crops that take longer, about 120 days to even as little as 60 days. But overall, most of like the time to shine in the garden is 90 days after you do your initial seed sowing. And that comes in the month of June, which is absolute craziness. It feels awesome because we're blessed with abundance, but there's also so much to do. This bed was pretty much already cleared out with actually not a lot of weeds. I just had to take the trash out of it, basically, like the cardboard and stuff. So I'm just gonna put a few of these big logs in here because it was just laying around. If you're trying to fill up garden beds on a budget, you can gather big logs. You can gather all of that you find on your property, put it on the bottom of your bed. First half is going to be with mulch, and then once we get our mushroom compost in, I will do the second half with heavy amounts of compost. That recipe typically works really well for us, especially if your beds are as tall as some of my other metal beds. There is really no need to spend a fortune on filling them up with soil. Just fill them up with mulch and really big logs, and you're going to cut your soil cost in half. I don't have the soil for the flower beds right now, so I'm going to give you guys an update on that later once I get the delivery of the mushroom compost, which should be in like a week or two. Okay, I've got the task of getting some of these beds ready. I'm clearing out this bed. It had the shooting broccoli in it. It's all gone to seed, and to me it's no longer fulfilling a purpose. Any of the beds that have crops that have run their course are just going to be cleared out and getting ready for that heavy layer of compost that we're going to do in a few weeks. So I have to, at this point, be really diligent with weeding and clearing out a few beds at a time, harvesting things that need to be harvested, because at this point the beds really need to be open and ready for the new plants. This lettuce is just done, and I'm gonna give it to the chickens. Don't worry, it's not gonna be a waste, but it's so bitter that we cannot eat this lettuce. Like putting one piece in your mouth, you're like, oh my gosh, that's some bitter lettuce. After this year, I've just decided I'm gonna stop wasting garden space on lettuce and just only grow what I know typically tastes good and works well in Florida, which is the Swiss chard, any type of kale, and occasionally spinach for me, just like your more hardier greens. The actual like lettuces, for me personally, and I've been trying to grow lettuce for so many years, it's so bitter. If there's any type of a heat wave, it doesn't end up tasting good. So I'm pulling all this out. Even the lettuce that we got, I got those seeds from Italy. It all looks beautiful. It looks great. It's starting to form like a head of lettuce. And what I'll do is I'll walk over to the lettuce and pick off a leaf and go, oh my gosh, this is so gross, I cannot eat this. I'm just not gonna waste any garden space on it unless I get some type of like a hydroponic system that can be grown possibly indoors. This is one of my flower beds. The two center beds in the garden are designated for flowers. How do you like my Christmas coffee mug? Haven't put it away yet. At this point, I could literally plant nothing in these and they'll just continue to reseed themselves with a variety of surprises, which is nice, and that's the reason why I wanted to dedicate these beds to flowers. So I didn't want that type of thing happening in the vegetable designated beds. I would recommend doing something like that because flowers are really excellent at reseeding themselves and creating those volunteer plants. This flower bed's already rather empty, which makes my job much easier. I can see where the squirrels have been helping themselves to, of course, having no sunflower head, and then you see like the little sunflower shells all over the place. Honestly, the squirrels have gotten a little bit better with the sunflowers. I don't know why, but they're not attacking them quite as much as they did like the first season I started my sunflower walls. And one thing I wanted to show you guys is wherever you plant sunflowers, keep in mind they're basically like tree flowers essentially. They have a really deep root system, especially the variety of sunflower that you choose, and they take a lot of soil up with them, and this is actually like nothing compared to some of my bigger sunflowers that I'll grow. Sometimes it is almost impossible sometimes to pull these out. So just keep that in mind if you are planting sunflowers somewhere and you want to really try to preserve the soil. They will take a lot of soil with them, and that's why I've stopped putting them in like all of the beds, because they would take up so much soil with them. But they were happy there. They do like raised beds. I'm gonna pull out these peas and the sunflower. The squirrels definitely felt comfortable enough for whatever reason to venture into this bed. But the weird thing is there are sunflowers that are closer to those trees. So I don't know why they decided they wanted to go into this bed. So I'm gonna get all these peas out. And the cool thing is a lot of these peas I could actually use for seeds because they've gotten big enough. And they've dried out enough. So if I just continue to let these dry out, these would be seeds. So then I won't have to buy a whole new seed packet. I would just let these dry all the way for a few days and put them in a bag.
If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. That really helps me and it goes a long way. Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss any of this spring garden journey. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.